Okay, real talk for a second. Last week, I watched my neighbor lose $3,000 in a guaranteed crypto investment. He jumped in within 15 minutes of hearing about it. Meanwhile, my other friend turned $500 into $2,300 in the same month. Not because he knew more about crypto, but because he thought differently. Same opportunity, same information available, completely different outcomes. And here's what nobody talks about. The difference wasn't intelligence. It wasn't luck. It was something way simpler, and honestly, kind of shocking when you realize it. By the end of this video, you're gonna understand exactly why some people seem to always make the right call with money, relationships, and opportunities, while others keep repeating the same expensive mistakes. And trust me, once you see these 5 mindset shifts, you can't unsee them. You'll start noticing them everywhere, in your boss, in that friend who always seems calm during chaos, in the investors who actually make money. Let's get into it. Alright, here's where most people lose money before they even open their wallet. Picture this. You're scrolling through social media and suddenly everyone's talking about a new stock. It's up 40% this week. Your group chat is going crazy. Bro, get in now before it's too late. What do most people do? They react. They feel that FOMO burning in their chest. They open their trading app and boom, money's gone before they even understand what they bought. But here's what the top 10% do differently. They observe first. Think of it like this. Imagine you walk into a party and everyone's crowded around something in the corner, shouting and pushing. Do you immediately dive into that crowd? Or do you step back, watch for a second, and figure out what's actually happening? Smart money observes patterns. They ask, why is this moving now? Who's been talking about this for the past month? Am I late to the party, or is there something real here? Real example from my life. In 2021, everyone and their grandma was buying Dogecoin because Elon tweeted. My coworker threw in $2,000 at the peak. I almost did too. But I stepped back and observed, saw that the price had already 10x'd in a week, saw that there was no real use case, just hype. I didn't buy. He lost 70% of that money within 2 months. Observing isn't about being paranoid or overthinking. It's about creating a buffer zone between the world shouting at you and your actual decision. That buffer, that's where smart decisions live. Here's your action step. Next time you feel that urgent pressure to do something, buy something, invest in something, even reply to an angry text, give yourself 24 hours. Just observe. Watch what happens when you create space. You'll be shocked how many urgent opportunities disappear when you stop reacting. Okay, this one's going to sound weird at first, but stick with me because this is how people get paid with their worth. Most people think being smart means having the answer immediately. You're in a meeting, someone asks a question, and boom, you gotta prove you're valuable by speaking first. Wrong. The smartest people I know, they're often the quietest in the room. And it's not because they don't know the answer, it's because they understand something powerful. Silence makes other people reveal their hand. Here's a real-world example. Let's say you're negotiating your salary. The recruiter says, we're thinking $65,000 for this position. What do you think? Most people immediately say that works, or, well, I was hoping for more, but they fill the silence because it feels uncomfortable. But what if you just said nothing for 5 seconds, just looked at them and stayed quiet? I've done this. The recruiter will start talking again. Of course, depending on your experience, we could go higher. Boom, they just negotiated against themselves. You didn't have to argue, explain, or justify. Your silence did the work. This works in investing too. Ever notice how Warren Buffett barely talks during interviews? He lets other people explain their positions, show their excitement, reveal their assumptions. Then he acts on what he learned from their words. Silence isn't awkward, it's strategic. It's you collecting information while everyone else is spilling theirs. Try this today. In your next conversation about money, work, or any decision, after someone makes their pitch or offer, just pause. Count to 5 in your head before responding. Watch what they do with that space. You'll learn more in that silence than in any question you could ask. Alright, this is where things get interesting and where most people's thinking completely falls apart. Let me explain with something that happened to me. A couple of years ago, I had a friend who kept complaining he was broke. Every month, same story. Man, I'm out of money again. I don't know where it goes. So I asked him to show me his bank statement, and here's what I saw. He'd get paid, immediately buy new shoes he didn't need, order food delivery 4 times a week, subscribe to 3 streaming services he never watched. Then, 2 weeks later, broke. He was thinking about each purchase as a situation. It's just $60 for these shoes. It's just $15 for dinner tonight. Individual moments that felt small. But successful people, they think in systems. They look at the pattern. They see, okay, if I spend $15 on delivery 4 times a week, that's $240 a month, $2,880 a year. That's literally the cost of a vacation I keep saying I can't afford. See the difference? Situations versus systems. Here's another example. Investing. Most people look at stocks like individual bets. Should I buy Apple? Should I buy Tesla? That's situational thinking. System thinkers ask, what percentage of my income am I investing every month? What's my allocation between growth and stability? How does each investment fit into my overall wealth building system? One of my favorite examples is coffee. People mock the whole skip your $5 latte advice, but it's not about the coffee. It's about understanding the system. If you're spending $5 a day on coffee for 20 years, that's $36,500. If you invested that money instead at a 7% return, that's over $70,000. One small system change, massive long-term impact. Your action step here, pick one area of your life, spending, health, relationships, whatever, and map out the system. Don't just look at today, look at the pattern over a month, a year, 5 years. What small repeated action is creating a big outcome you don't want? That's your leverage point. Change the system, not just the situation. Here's the painful truth that most people never accept. Your ego is costing you money. Let me tell you about the dumbest financial decision I almost made. A few years ago, I was in a conversation with some friends who were all talking about their investments. They were name-dropping companies, throwing around numbers, sounding super confident. And I felt this pressure to match their energy. I almost bought into an investment I barely understood just so I could say, yeah, I'm in on that too. Then I caught myself. I realized I'm about to risk my actual money to look smart in a conversation that'll be forgotten by tomorrow. That's ego, and ego is expensive. The smartest investors in the world, Buffett, Munger, Ray Dalio, they all say the same thing. I don't know is one of the most valuable phrases you can learn. When you're grounded, you don't need to prove anything. You don't invest in something because it makes you sound cool. You don't take a job just because the title sounds impressive. You make decisions based on reality, not image. Here's a practical example. Let's say your friends are all buying new cars. Nice ones, $40,000, $50,000 loans. And you're driving your paid-off 2015 Honda. Your ego says, you look broke. You should upgrade. But being grounded says, my car works perfectly. That $40,000 they're paying in loans, I'm investing it. In 10 years, I'll have $80,000 while they're still making payments. Who's actually winning? The person who's grounded doesn't need external validation. They're playing a different game, a longer, smarter game that most people can't see. Ask yourself, what decision am I making or avoiding because of how it looks to others? That's where your ego is bleeding you dry. Drop it. Stay grounded. Make decisions based on what actually serves your future, not what impresses people today. Alright, last one. And this is the skill that separates good thinkers from exceptional ones. Most people ask closed questions. Questions that end in yes or no. Questions that confirm what they already believe. Is this stock going up? Should I invest in real estate? Is this a good idea? But people who outsmart the crowd, they ask questions that open up new thinking. Instead of should I invest in real estate, they ask, what are 3 ways real estate could lose money that I'm not considering? What do people who failed at this say say about it. See the difference? One question is looking for confirmation. The other is looking for truth. Here's a question I ask myself constantly when it comes to money. What would have to be true for this to be a bad decision? It forces you to think in reverse, to challenge your own assumptions, to get out of the hype and into reality. Another powerful question, who benefits if I believe this? When someone's pitching you an investment, a business idea, or can't miss opportunity, ask that. Who profits if you say yes? That question alone has saved me thousands. Better questions lead to better decisions, and better decisions compound over time into a completely different life. So there you have it, 5 mindset shifts that most people will never make. But you can start today. Stop reacting, start observing. Use silence strategically. Think in systems. Let go of ego. Ask questions that reveal truth. These aren't just thinking tricks. They're the difference between building wealth and wondering where your money went. Between making decisions that compound in your favor and repeating expensive mistakes. You don't need to be louder. You just need to be wiser. If this resonated with you, do me a favor. Drop a comment below with which shift hit hardest. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, send it to them. Knowledge is only powerful when it's shared. I'll see you in the next one. Stay sharp.